Here's the math. If Bitcoin compounds at 30% a year for the next 20 years, well below its historical average, around 50%, the price in 2046 reaches roughly 15 million per coin. If it compounded at 25%, it'd be 8 million. 35%, it would be 30 million. Pick your number. The range is really between 8 and 30 million per coin in 20 years. So I'm using conservatively 10 to 20 as my central hypothesis, not a prediction, the kind of thing you say after a bourbon, not before a Senate hearing. So a confession before we go further. Bitcoin is now 17% of my investable assets. It's my largest position, bigger than CNQ, bigger than every energy compounder I have been writing love letters about for years now. Now, it started at 2%. I didn't add to it. The asset just compounded. The math did the work. I just didn't sell. Now, let me tell you where I'm writing from. A 5-star resort on the South Carolina coast, having the R360 Conference. So we have about 182 families, average net worth, 600 million. 86% of the people in this room are first-time wealth creators. They built it from nothing. 12 of them didn't graduate from high school, and half of those are billionaires, which suggests one of two things. Either the American education system is a load-bearing wall in someone else's house, or the people who skipped it knew something the rest of us were too polite to ask. So yesterday, I played one of 5 courses called the Ocean Course, where the PGA plays, with a man who grew up in a remote village in Bangladesh. The country has electricity, but his village did not. In fact, he didn't flip a switch in his own home until he was 16 years old. Came to America, built a company, and he and his wife are now building 100 schools for women around the world. 21 are already lit up. 21 school for girls lit up by a man who spent his childhood in the dark. And on par 5, he makes a birdie. He turns to me and asks what I was telling my grandchildren to own. And I told him, and he nodded to me and said, same. So if you're on the sidelines, you have an objection, let me kill 4 of them. In my Substack, I went after the 20 objections to Bitcoin, and I knocked them all down. So you should read it. Published it yesterday. So 1, people say, I'm too old. You're not buying Bitcoin for you. You're buying it for the people who are going to inherit it. The people who currently call you grandpa or grandma and ask if your teeth come out, all right? Those are the ones. The asset that compounds at 30% for the next 20 years will not feel like a luxury to your heirs. It will feel like the only intelligent thing you did with this really boring sleeve of your estate plan. Right next to the bond ladder you bought because your advisor said it was prudent. The bond ladder will pay for their first car. The Bitcoin is going to pay for everything else. If you're too old for the asset, your grandchildren are not, believe me. So stop talking about your age. They're not interested. 2, I missed it. You didn't buy it at $1. You didn't buy it at 1,000. You didn't buy it at 50,000. You didn't buy it at 70,000. Okay. You did not buy at a price that would have been clever in retrospect because retrospect was not available. If Bitcoin becomes what the structural case suggests in 20 years, the difference between buying it now and selling it for 10 to 20 million is a rounding error. I bought my first Bitcoin years after I should have, and I was late. Okay. And the position over time became my largest holding. Late is not the same as never. 3, you talked to your financial advisor and he said no. All right. Your financial advisor is paid not to get you sued. He's not paid to make you generational wealth. All right. You can tell because his vacation home is paid for and yours is not. If he recommends Bitcoin and it drops 50%, 60%, he gets fired, okay? If he refuses to recommend it and it goes to $1 million, no client will sue him for missing the upside. That's what they don't tell you. That is rational behavior for him. It is not rational behavior for you. These two facts are connected by the bill he sends you every quarter, where he's charging you 1% on assets. You don't need his permission to allocate 5% to a hard money instrument. You need his permission to do it inside the accounts that he manages. There's a difference. Open another account. 4, Bitcoin is competing with the dollar. It's not competing with the dollar. It's competing with property, specifically the $900 trillion of global property used as a store of value. The empty Manhattan condo, the second home in Aspen, the art on museum walls, the 30-year treasury held by a pension fund. The reason a wealthy person owns the empty Manhattan condo is not that they need somewhere to sleep. It is that they need to store $20 million in purchasing power in something that just can't be easily inflated away. Bitcoin does the same thing. Without property tax, without maintenance, without a tenant who's always 6 weeks late on rent, without a doorman who needs a Christmas tip. If Bitcoin captures 10% of the property pool, the asset goes 60 times from here. Most readers have never run that math. Their advisors haven't run it either, because the math, if you run, suggests that 5% is definitely not enough. Step back. Money has been engineered 4 times in human history: cattle, metals, paper, digital. Each transaction took roughly 1,000 years to play out. Now, run a test backwards. In 1600 in London, you could have owned a building, a barrel of dried cod, the finest pewter, or a stack of British pounds. Pick one. You have to hold it for 426 years. What survives today with its purchasing power intact? Only the land. The building rotted. The pewter is in a museum behind glass near the gift shop. The dried cod was eaten by 1602. The pounds were debased to confetti by Queen Anne, and now mainly of interest to historians and people with metal detectors. The land won, because the land could not be reproduced by technology. Now apply the same test forward. In the digital age, what is land? Bitcoin is the land. It's the only digital asset that cannot be reproduced by technology, by AI, by a central bank, or by any committee anywhere. 21 million coins forever. The grandchildren will inherit the land of the digital age, which is Bitcoin, which means the framework is simple. Start at 2 to 3% of your investable assets. Don't buy it all in one tranche. Buy it over a 12 to 18 month period. Dollar cost average, okay, over 12 to 18 months. Live with it for a couple of years before you do anything else. You're going to see at least one major drawdown in that window, but that's the point. You need to know how you respond before you size it up. If you panic, your size was wrong, too big. If you sleep through it, then your conviction is real and you can add to it. 20-year hold minimum. If you cannot commit to 20 years, don't buy it, okay? Start at 2%. And one day, 4 or 5 years, it's going to be 15 or 20% of your assets. I'm not rebalancing. I'm holding for the grandkids. So that's what you need to do. Buy 1 Bitcoin, a half a Bitcoin, a tenth of a Bitcoin. It can be divided 1,000,000 pieces. You could buy $5 worth of Bitcoin today. The only question your grandchildren will ask in 20 years is why you didn't buy more. Hope is not a strategy. Bitcoin is. May the mischief be with you. I'm Charlie Garcia.